Why, hello there, handsome lad, and who might you be? Huh, figuring this out looks simple enough. Wait, how many Ganondorfs are there? Oh, crap. Alright, all you wonderful thinkers, it's time for a thought process. I'm Thinkafurr, and today I'll be ditching the controller, mouse, and keyboard to investigate a rather massive question born from the darkest depths of Nintendo Direct's most recent E3 teaser to Breath of the Wild sequel. And yes, that's right everyone, we are getting a sequel, but that's not the question we want answered in this video today. Instead, today we try to look at taking our best guess at figuring out the identity of Prince Mystery Man Handsome over here. Drumroll please, the suspects we have are Demise and Ganondorf. Huh, who'da thunk? Alright, let's begin, but before I do, please note that in this video I'm not going to count all the different iterations of Ganondorf as there are too many. Therefore, to keep this video concise and to the point, we will treat each different iteration of them as the one identity of Ganondorf for now, and have Demise as separate. So, with all that said, let's start with observing some of the events within the teaser Nintendo gave us. What we can see initially is that there is obviously some form of resurrection ritual happening. Ironically, it appears that in Breath of the Wild 2, either Ganondorf or Demise is resurrected at the beginning of the game, much in the same way Link was resurrected in the first cutscene from Breath of the Wild 1 also. Moving on from this point, we also observe massive particles of glowing blue energy flowing either around the corpse of this creature or into the creature itself. We also see the evil blight of Ganon almost assuredly emanating from the corpse. Aside the obvious red glowing eyes we saw in the teaser trailer, it's obvious that this is the corpse of something evil, malicious, and powerful. These are all traits both Demise and Ganondorf share. Ganondorf obviously will share the traits of Demise, as he is meant to be the perpetual reincarnation of Demise, as Demise cursed Link and Zelda to forever be doomed to an eternal cycle of revenge and reincarnation, as was shown at the end of Skyward Sword. That aside, we cannot make a clear determination if this is a reincarnation of Demise, aka Ganondorf, or Demise himself from these traits alone, so let's take a closer look at the finer details. Looking more closely at the corpse, we see lots of golden bangles, earrings, and interestingly a golden crest on its forehead, as well as long flowing red hair. The body is also shirtless, although that could simply be due to the fact the clothing would have deteriorated over time and no longer be present. Interestingly, in this part of the teaser, where Link flashes back, we observe someone appearing to have been sealed. This person happens to be fully clothed with long hair. Now, this doesn't exactly confirm Ganondorf on the observation that what is worn by the corpse resembles Gerudo attire. However, it does at least give possibility towards it being Ganondorf. However, what we should note based on appearances is that both Ganondorf and Demise both have specifically red-colored, long-flowing hair. Notice how I have specified the color red. This is because in Skyward Sword, one of the key things we see different with the appearance of Demise is that his hair was literally on fire. If we assume that because it is a corpse, then the hair should look like ordinary red hair, right? Either that or perhaps Nintendo chose a different design approach for Demise. Or maybe there is more truth in this than we think. but I'm gonna save that for a little later, so bear with me and keep this in mind. What is glaringly obvious yet was frustratingly overlooked until now is the fact that in the cutscenes we see in Breath of the Wild that explained the story of the hero, the goddess, and how the great Calamity had been sealed away multiple times in the past doesn't make sense when you really think about it and look closely. The only thing that does make sense is the existence of Great Calamity, and even then, it's really just a dark foreshadowing to a great evil needing to be fought. What if, for a moment, this legend really makes reference to what many have speculated to be Hylia and her first chosen hero, Demise, and not Link? Now, I won't go too much into explaining this theory here, as it is a theory well covered. However, to summarize it, Hylia chose Demise as her first chosen hero to protect the realm, appointing him with his own Master Sword, of which, just like Link's Master Sword, contained a spirit within named Girahim. Then, later at some point or another, it's theorized Demise either failed or was persuaded and corrupted, becoming the Demon King and corrupting his own Master Sword, taking on a more darker and evil appearance. Keeping this all in mind, let's move back to that first cutscene. Look at it closely. Observe how the hero on the tapestry doesn't have golden blonde hair like Link does. Instead, it's blazing red and very long, which is highly suspicious. Even the overall figure and stature and how it's portrayed is shown in the tapestry as very large. What if we, for a moment, just rethink this entire scene completely? What if we have been fooling ourselves all along about who this tapestry and legend really refers to initially? The way they speak about the Golden Goddess and never mention Zelda's name, we just assume it's Zelda as they do. But what if this really was Hylia herself referred to on the tapestry and her first chosen and failed hero, Demise? Demise obviously won the first conflict with the Great Calamity either because he really was a hero or it was a scheme. A scheme he created to deceive the Goddess of Time into granting him the powers she would have otherwise bestowed upon the true hero. This potentially changes everything we think we know about the basic lore of Breath of the Wild and then some. However, I'm not going to just stop there and call it a day. If, for a moment, I make a brief reference to a theory Dr. Wily created on his channel, his theory spoke about the three goddesses, Din, Nehru, and Ferror. The area I want to specifically reference from Dr. Wily's theory is specifically about Din. Din was associated with fire, earth, and volcanic activity. Fire and volcanic activity are elements Demise is overall designed around, both in figure and appearance. Taking a closer look, let's talk about fire. Aside the obvious fact his hair is on fire and his eyes glow red much like the corpse does in the teaser, perhaps it's possible that the magical, fire-like appearance of his hair fades to a normal, ordinary hair when the life fades from him. I mean, this isn't Dragon Ball Z here, but logically, if a person was alive and had power which flowed through them altering appearance, then maybe this idea works. Maybe. Bear in mind, this is a game made by a company that originates from Japan, coincidentally the nexus and origination of anime. Coincidence? I think not. Anyway, moving on from anime references to more grounded and pressurized topics, let's talk about volcanic activity. We can observe what looks like obsidian growths all across the character model of Demise. Now, for those whom don't know, obsidian is a naturally occurring form of volcanic glass that is created when felsic lava is pushed out from a volcano rapidly cooling into this lump of matter we see here. Alright, still with me, thinkers? Great. So, keeping this in mind about his character design, we covered fire and volcanic activity. But I feel you all thinking, what about the earth part? Well, if you look at the backstory of Demise, more specifically where he originated from, he literally came from the earth itself through a newly formed fissure, aka a massive crack in the earth's surface, which he led his army through causing all kinds of havoc in Hyrule until the hero we know and love defeated him, sealing Demise away in the Master Sword itself. If we just assume for a moment, based on the teaser trailer's footage of Link and Zelda walking through what appears to be a cave underground, it leads to the tomb of this handsome lad's corpse. Or what could be Demise? That right there lines up with Demise coming from the Earth. If in Skyward Sword he originated from the Earth, it makes sense that his place of resurrection would be from the Earth also. So, if for a hypothetical moment, we humor the theory of the three warring goddesses and also the theory of Demise, the original hero of Hylia, and consider them hypothetically as canonical, we have some very strong points that direct us towards Demise. But keep in mind, we are still exploring everything and nothing is truly concrete as of yet. Moving on, let's assess further evidence. Backtracking to a point I raised earlier regarding the irony of Link resurrecting at the beginning of the first game and the corpse of what we assume to be Demise or Ganondorf, notice that there are similarities in the design of the resurrection chamber Link awakens from in Breath of the Wild 1 to that of the chamber we see here. This other resurrection chamber is similarly designed to that of the Sheikah, although it obviously has a much more darker and evil feel to it. Moving past this detail, notice the hand atop the corpse's head is the same color as the glowing blue energy. What if for a moment we assume that this hand is a representation of a seal placed on the body of the deceased Ganondorf or Demise? Or, more specifically, the hand of the spirit within the Master Sword from Skyward Sword, Phi. Hylia, the goddess, creating the goddess sword, and Phi, two separate things, one with a soul and mind. Now, we see that in order to finally defeat Demise in Skyward Sword, Link transforms the goddess sword with the spirit Phi still inside into what we all know as the Master Sword. Now, with the origin of the Master Sword and the awareness that Phi inhabits it, look at how Demise is finally defeated at the end of Skyward Sword. He breaks down into ashes of smoke that greatly resemble, if not look almost identical to the blight of Calamity Ganon, after which Link raises the Master Sword with Phi still inhabiting it and absorbs. Yes, that's right, he absorbs Demise and seals him inside with her? Now, let's just logic this. Link might be the one raising the sword and calling upon the power of the Master Sword, but the reality is he is calling upon the power of Phi to achieve this. The sword is simply a conduit for this power. Let that stay in your minds. Remember how, in Breath of the Wild, we find out that Calamity Ganon has somehow managed to take control of the Sheikah's technology, causing mass destruction across all Hyrule. And notice that Breath of the Wild acknowledges that each incarnation of Calamity, it grew more and more powerful. Why is this? I'll tell you why. Because over time, Demise was growing more and more powerful. In turn, Ganondorf and all his powers, and more importantly, all his phantoms, slowly but surely became more powerful also. As such, we know that Ganondorf is able to create and manifest phantoms, portals to other worlds, fire magical blasts, and all kinds of other magical mayhem. However, these powers that are utilized by Ganondorf are the powers of Demise, his true form. In turn and point, what if Calamity Ganon himself is just a phantom, a creation? A cheap facsimile like all the other various corrupted phantoms we face inside the divine beasts. Phantoms created by the true puller of strings, the true face of evil, Demise himself. Now, holding on to this, my fellow thinkers, as I'm nearly done wrapping up my final point. Demise, slowly but surely, overpowering the confines of the sword itself, gathered enough of his former power while still kept under the seal by Phi. Now, at the point in time the sword itself had reached peak volume of evil it could contain, if Link had wielded this sword within this state, he surely would have been wielding a Master Sword that was entirely almost made of evil, corrupting almost everything it came into contact contact with, and Fi knew this, thus causing Fi to leave the sword and keep the still sealed but growing more powerful Demise elsewhere, otherwise the malice and hate would have consumed Fi, corrupting her entirely. Meanwhile, as the more powerful Demise capitalized on the moment when Link had pulled the Master Sword from the seal prior to being mortally wounded defending Zelda, he had created an opportunity for Demise to corrupt the Sheikah Guardians and Divine Beasts. And so, when Demise took control of the Sheikah's technology, causing all that damage, Fi knew it was time to seal Demise elsewhere so the Master Sword could be used by Link without potentially corrupting anything else. Perhaps it was only when Link was mortally wounded that Fi realized it was time to do something and made the choice to seal Demise elsewhere. All of this is possible. We have seen in the past, time and again, it has been Link who has accidentally enabled the incarnations of Demise, aka Ganondorf, to gain power without intending to, as illustrated when he opened the door of time. He allowed Ganondorf to access the sacred realm in Ocarina of Time. Regardless, it was all part of Demise's design. Demise, who had already sown enough chaos with his previous incarnations and the current phantoms in play. Demise, who had also used Calamity Ganon and the Blight Ganons to distract from who really pulled the strings. And slowly but surely, Demise's plot to return was reaching its fruition close to the time of Breath of the Wild. Ultimately, if all this is true, then it makes sense that when Link interfered with Fi's seal accidentally, Fi had to step in and help Link, taking her attention away from keeping the seal, and thus, in doing so, broke the seal of Demise. After breaking all of this down and thinking laterally about what we see, it could very well be Demise making a return to the franchise to seek revenge. After all, why send a reincarnation out for revenge for the upteenth time, when you could go out and do it yourself? These are just my thoughts from me to you. If you like the theory, leave a like and subscribe for more future content. Also, as a student of thought, I'd encourage all you fabulous thinkers to let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm gonna relax now, pick up that controller, and get back into gaming as Christafurr now. Hope you all enjoyed. Bye!